Okay, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Youngs, your best mate. This is the driving range of truth, and today we're talking about the three main phases that one needs to go through to go from 10K per month to 100K per month with an education business. Just to give you a little bit of context, I've only hit 2 balls today, but I flushed both of them. I wasn't quite as flushed. So, if you're new here, like I said, my name's Tom. I don't know how this is going to go with the mic, by the way, so this is a complete test. So today is Monday morning, and typically I do my whiteboard lecture on the whiteboard of truth in the Office of Destiny, but today this is the Office of Destiny. I'm in Bad Gastein in the Austrian Alps, and we are on a beautiful driving range. My hotel is over there in the distance. It's a stunning day, and I thought, why not come out here and talk to you about 3 kind of principles, or at least the 3 phases that I think one needs to go through in order to get to 100 grand a month. First thing we're going to do, as always, we're going to put 30 minutes on the clock. I don't know how long the camera is going to last because it's pretty hot out here. It's running on 4K with a battery. Fingers crossed. Okay, I might have to move my mic because it's right next to my boob and have it more central. Okay, let's just keep it like that. Let's tuck this bad boy in. Okay, cool. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of a history lesson regarding what I do. So I run a business where I help creators scale from 10K a month to 100 grand a month. Over the past 6 months, I have averaged $105,000 per month in new contract value for my consulting business, Scale 20. And I'm just saying that just to give you a little bit of credibility about what I'm about to say, because I scaled from 10K per month 2 years ago to 100K per month. And so I kind of just want to give you that context before I dive into the stuff we're going to talk about. Now, I'm going to use a bodybuilding analogy today. And you might be thinking, like, Tom, what do you know about bodybuilding, you lanky streak of piss? Well, I used to be a lankier streak of piss than I am now. And if we roll back the clock to 15 years, I used to be a biomedical scientist. I was a student at university. That was flush. These aren't my clubs, I literally just rented a 7-iron. And I went to university. I did 7 years of university. I did 3 years as a biomedical scientist. So I qualified as a biomedical scientist. And then I went on to do postgraduate dentistry, where I obviously studied to be a dentist, and I qualified as a dentist. Now, during the biomedical science degree, that was flushed. During the biomedical science degree, in my final year, I did a lab project where I worked with a guy who was recently on the Tim Ferriss podcast. Professor Keith Barr was my final year lab professor. And in that year, my job was to study the molecular mechanisms of muscle hypertrophy. Hitting it pretty clean today. So yeah, studying the molecular mechanism of muscle hypertrophy. And this was 15 years ago. So this was back in 2008 and 9. And, that was before the whole Instagram stuff. Going to the gym wasn't really a thing back then. I mean, it was a lot more niche. But I remember my professor had been studying muscular hypertrophy for years. absolutely flushing it today. And there are three main principles when it comes to building muscle. And I'm going to use this as an analogy to talk about the three phases that you need to go through to build and scale a business from 10K per month through to 100K per month. So the first phase, and this is the first kind of there are three main mechanisms to building muscle. The first really is probably the most important, and that is time under tension. And that was one of the things that I learned when I was studying the cellular and molecular mechanism of muscle hypertrophy. Jeez, I'm absolutely nuking it today. So, the first is time under tension. And what that means is you want to keep your muscle under a certain amount of tension to force the molecular adaptations necessary to force your muscle to grow, the muscle fibers to grow. And in the kind of like the creator world, in the first phase, which is really getting to that 10K per month, we really want to think about all of our inputs into the business as maximizing time under tension. So what does that look like? So when you first start out your business, you don't know what works and what doesn't. I'll tell you what, my fucking swing works today, jeez. Okay, you don't know what works and what doesn't. So you need to get in the mindset of, I'm going to figure out what works and what doesn't. And you do that by spending a significant amount of time with your either perfect future client or people you already work with or already have known in your network. So if you think about Alex Hormozi's $100 million leads, very much that was about the first, one of the biggest kind of mind breaks I try and get to people is that your first $100,000 is already located within your existing network. So you do not need to run ads. You don't need a personal brand. You don't need lead magnets. You don't need all that shit. You just need to speak to the people that you know and the people that they know. So in that first kind of like 10K phase, the time under tension, it's all about speaking to people. 2 years ago when I launched CreatorLaunch in July 2023, I had a 3-week period where I got on about 60 networking calls. And I just got on calls with people in my warm network. So these are people that I had a small kind of audience on Twitter. And there were people back then doing kind of like the creator stuff, but I had been specializing in building communities for big creators and emerging tech brands. And I was like, okay, maybe earlier creators could benefit from my skill set. So I literally booked out my calendar. I probably had about six to 8 calls per day for about 3 weeks. And these were just networking calls. I didn't get on the calls being like, hey, I'm going to, do you want this outcome? Do you want this transformation? I was like, no, hey, I literally sent a message out to people saying, yo, do you want to shoot the shit sometime? I need to buy this club. And so what I did was I jumped on these calls with no agenda other than just to speak to people, to get to know them, to get to know what they're working on, what their problems are, what are their dreams, what are they working towards. And then after I'd had these like 60 calls, a few weeks later, I went back and messaged all of them and was like, hey, by the way, I'm doing a beta cohort where I'm trying to help people solve these problems. And I had 14 people work with me. And at the time, it was more of a group environment. But that was the first thing that I needed to do to be able to spend time with people to help figure out what works and what doesn't. So in that first phase, then kind of ended up naturally moving on to working with people one-on-one. Now, the cool thing is that of those 14 people that I worked with in that beta cohort, about 4 of them ended up being one-on-one clients of mine. And I ended up upselling them from something that they bought from me for $400 to ending up paying me $4,000 4 months later. And that's because I'd actually done a good job with the beta cohort. And so I'd done that. And then the next part of this was I needed to spend a lot of contact time with both prospect and clients. And so this is the time and attention, what I call the kind of like the one-on-one phase. And this is where, yes, you need to get on loads of sales calls. Yes, you need to get on loads of one-on-one calls with your clients to figure out what works and what doesn't. Now, I then went through that phase, which was probably about 9 months to a year, where I did one-on-one with clients, where I would get on calls with them once every 2 weeks, half-an-hour calls every 2 weeks, and I would figure out what were they struggling with. And it was going through that process of working with people one-on-one where I managed to start building up this picture of, okay, these are the tools that work. These are the questions that my clients typically have. These are the solutions that I can provide to them to help mean that they don't have those questions anymore. This is the roadmap that they can follow that allows them to go forward with clarity. And it was after I'd built up all of that time under tension that I could then migrate to phase number 2. And phase number 2 is kind of what we're doing today. Dropping clubs. Phase number 2 is all about repetition. So phase number 1 was time and attention. Phase number 2 is repetition. And just like when you're building muscle, got a little bit of hay fever going. When you're building muscle, the second part to the equation of building muscle is reps. In muscle building, it's typically anywhere between 5 to 20 reps is the muscle building kind of rep range, as I'm sure you can see from the evidence. So in the second phase, it's all about getting in the repetitions. So this is spending time with your clients, doing the inputs over and over again that you need to do to grow the business. So what are the inputs? The inputs in phase number 2 are what I call the daily non-negotiables. And this is a series of inputs that I get my clients to do when they're in that kind of like 10K range and they want to scale up to 20K, 30K. So these are a set of simple inputs that are aligned to outputs that will help move their business forward. So what are the few things that actually move businesses forward? So the first is getting leads. Okay, that's pretty much the most common one that people have is they're like, the most common problem is, oh, I don't have enough leads. So we need to solve that problem. So how do we do that? We make sure that we make content every day. So what we do is we make content and we spend 100 units per day to make content. And that's our repetition. And so the recommendation that I have for my clients is 100 minutes of content creation each day. And that could be in the form of 100 minutes of writing. Hello. You keep going. Okay. You could keep 100 minutes of writing, whether that's writing an email post, writing Instagram videos, carousels, YouTube. Just 100 minutes. Dankeschön. And once you get 100 minutes of content, then that's solving your leads problem. What are some of the other kind of like inputs that I look to? So we've really got the holistic things that are going to help your business go. So the next thing is you've got leads. What do you need to do next? You need to make offers and convert people to being clients. So what I say, and this is a recommendation that I have for my clients. Oh, that was the first miss today. That was a little bit thin. what I say to my clients is you want to seek rejection at least 5 times in a day, and you're looking to get closure 5 times. Now, what do I mean by that? Getting closure, people think, oh, I need to just open conversations all day. And this is the biggest mistake I made for ages, where I had a mentor who told me I needed to, open 100 conversations a day. A bit of a stinger. And that opening conversation, so sending a message and just being like, hey, thanks for the follow, why are you following me? That's easy. A monkey can do that. Getting closure, which I define as taking the conversation to the next step by getting closure, aiming to get closure on that conversation, closing the next step. So having a conversation in the DMs, and keep in mind I don't do sales calls, so my sales is all done via DMs. Getting closure is getting someone to the next step. So the next step is being like, it could be some of my clients do sales calls, is actually getting to the point where they're offering to get on a sales call with them. And so what this daily non-negotiable is about is getting people to face their fear of rejection. Because the biggest thing that people are scared of is they're scared of getting rejected. This comes back to like basic human instinct, where we don't want to get rejected by our tribe. And so in the sales world, we refrain from making offers because when we make an offer, we face someone saying no. And that's uncomfortable as a human. So I get my clients to face the rejection daily over and over and over again. And so I ask them to aim for 5 closures per day, and that will be enough to move your pipeline forward. So closure is getting people to the next step, and we're aiming to really face the risk of rejection. We keep it really simple. I just get them to write 5 names down. 5 names of people who are hottest in their pipeline. Get that person to the next step. Super simple, but people don't do the basics. They think, like I did, oh, I just need to open 100 conversations. So a few of the other daily non-negotiables are really around, oh, fuck. Okay, that was a big shank. I've lost it now. Are around, so the big ones are mind, body, and spirit. So these are the 3 other ones. So it's like we've got leads, we've got conversion, and then the other is around optimizing your mind, your body, and your spirit. So the mind is all about mindfulness and accumulating mindfulness minutes throughout a day. So I aim for at least half an hour of mindfulness accumulated throughout the day. That could be a walk. I've lost the golf for now. So that could be a walk, it could be in a sauna. I've just been in the sauna for about 15 minutes, about an hour ago. This could be meditation, this could be breath work, this could be guided meditation, this could be, I use all of these things. It could be any of those things. So gathering mindfulness. The second is around goals. So really getting clear on what your goals are. So that's journaling, daily non-negotiable. So writing your goals down every day. Then we come to body. So the minimum is 10K steps, 10,000 steps per day. That was flushed. So minimum 10,000 steps per day. Then the final one is 10 pages of reading per day. So that's really like mind, body, and spirit sorted. So, and then we've got sales and we've got leads. So those are the daily non-negotiable inputs, and these are the repetitions, the reps. It's a little Happy Gilmore there, that we need to put in to get the results, the outputs that we want. The inputs are the repetitions to get the outputs, which is growing your business. And then once you've got those nailed down and you're like actually thriving with those daily non-negotiables, which it sounds easy, but all I ask my clients to do is get 8 out of 10, 4 days a week. So we're not looking for 10 out of 10, 7 days a week. We're not looking for 5 out of 10, 7 days a week. We're looking for 8 out of 10, 4 days a week. That's all I aim for. Monday to Thursday, if I can get 8 out of 10 Monday to Thursday, fuck yeah, I'm free to go on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, do whatever I want. So yeah, it's just Those are the daily non-negotiables that sort out the repetition of inputs that you need to grow, to get the outputs that actually grow the business. Then the third piece of the puzzle, how are we doing on time? Got 10 minutes left, sweet. The third piece of the puzzle, which you need to grow muscle, which is the third phase. So we've got time and attention, spending time with the people, the potential prospects, your clients. Then we've got the reps, which is getting in the right inputs, spending enough time doing the right inputs, focusing on the right things, forgetting about all the other bullshit. And then the third is volume. That's pure. I'm hitting it absolutely purino today. So the third is volume. The third phase, which is frankly, that's the phase that'll take someone from 30K a month to 100 grand a month in just a very short amount of time. And that is when you really start to focus in on improving the quality of those repetitions. So the volume is getting the quality of those repetitions up. Let me give you some examples. One of the biggest. Okay, so looks like maybe I've only got a couple of minutes left on the camera. It just overheated, so we are going to wrap this up. So the third thing, like I said, I was talking about is volume, and that's the idea of putting quality into the repetitions that you're doing. So when we're just starting out in the repetition phase, we're just looking at getting good at getting those reps consistently, doing the things every day that are going to move your business forward. But then it gets to the point where, okay, if you want to compete at a higher level, which ultimately this is a competition, when there's a market, it's a competition, you need to start thinking about the quality of your inputs. And so a couple of examples, easy ones are, there is a moment where you have to step into the identity of a content creator and start creating content at a higher quality and level. Oh God. Right, so I've been thrown off the wagon here. Trying to get this one done, but anyway. And there's a time where you have to buy the equipment. You have to get the good camera, the good lens, the good microphone, the good lighting, and you have to start looking and acting like a fucking professional. And what this means is you have to increase the standards that you have previously been doing those repetitions at. And that's one thing I've noticed with a lot of my clients is that they haven't been showing up in their content as enough of a professional creator. And that's an identity thing. And so the big thing that I get my clients to do is really identify as being a creator and knowing that this is the game. If you're going to play this game, you have to take it seriously and you have to operate at a higher level. Right, let's nuke this ball. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it there for the Monday whiteboard of truth. The 3 phases that you need to go through to build your business: time and attention, repetition, and then volume. And as always, I drop amazing feats of information in my newsletter. If you just need to sign up through the link down in the description. And I don't know where I'll be next week. Next Monday, I'm going to be in the Alps still. I'm going to be in the Austrian Alps, somewhere kind of close to by to here. Maybe we'll do another one. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. If not, maybe I'll see you next time at the Whiteboard of Truth. But for now, this is the driving range of truth. Over and out. I'm just going to go slap the hell out of these balls. That was sick. I'll see you in the next one.